I think it's fair to say the flat barbell bench press is one of the default go-to exercises for achieving chest hypertrophy. But just how well does the flat barbell bench press do at developing the overall chest? Now, any muscle connecting the thorax to the shoulder and upper arm is considered a chest muscle, including the pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, subclavius, and serratus anterior. Hereafter, we'll only be discussing the pectoralis major, mainly because the research we'll evaluate has only assessed this muscle. Besides, the pectoralis major constitutes the large bulk of the chest, and most people tend to consider the pectoralis major synonymous with the chest musculature. Focusing on the pectoralis major, like any muscle, its attachments to bones enables body movement. When a muscle dynamically contracts, the attachments remaining stationary are the origin, while the attachments that move are the insertion. The pectoralis major has a large number of origins, including the medial clavicle, sternum, ribs, the cartilage of those ribs, and the aponeurosis of the external oblique. However, the insertion for all of these fibers stemming from the various origins generally inserts into the same location, the lateral side of the upper arm. Interestingly, there is currently no universally agreed way to divide the pectoralis major. Some consider the muscle to have three heads: the clavicular head, consisting of fibers originating from the medial clavicle, sternal head, consisting of fibers originating from the sternum, and a costal head, consisting of fibers originating from the ribs, their costal cartilages, and the aponeurosis of the external oblique. Others consider the pectoralis major to only have two heads: a clavicular head, consisting of fibers originating from the medial clavicle, and a sternocostal head, consisting of fibers originating from the sternum, ribs, costal cartilages, and the aponeurosis of the external oblique. For simplicity, I'll simply refer to the upper, middle, and lower regions of the pectoralis major from hereafter. If you like, you can simply think of the upper region as the clavicular head, the sternal head as the middle region, and the lower region as the costal head. With all those clarifications out the way, how well does the overall pectoralis major develop in response to flat barbell bench press training? Let us examine two studies exploring this. Ogasawara and colleagues had previously untrained men perform the flat barbell bench press with a 2x shoulder width grip for 3 sets of 10 repetitions with a 75% 1 rep max load, using 2 to 3 minutes of rest between sets, 3 times each week for a total of 24 weeks. Flat barbell bench press 1 rep max was remeasured every 3 weeks to enable the readjustment of the 75% 1 rep max training loads. Across the pectoralis major, the researchers measured cross-sectional area at 25%, the upper region, 50%, the middle region, and 75%, the lower region of its length. On average, the upper region saw a 36.3% increase in cross-sectional area, the middle region a 37.3% increase in cross-sectional area, and the lower region a 40% increase in cross-sectional area. Therefore, this study indicates the flat barbell bench press produces notable and near equal growth across the upper, middle, and lower regions of the pectoralis major. Progressing on to the second study, Davies and colleagues recruited 5 men and 5 women with training experience. Approximately 68% of the subjects had a flat barbell bench press 1 rep max between 35 kg and 93 kg. The flat barbell bench press was trained with 4 sets of 5 repetitions with an 85% 1 rep max load, using 5 minutes of rest between sets, twice per week for 8 weeks. Grip width was unfortunately not specified. Flat barbell bench press 1 rep max was remeasured every 2 weeks, enabling the readjustment of the 85% 1 rep max training loads. The researchers measured pectoralis major thickness at 3 regions: the spaces between ribs 2 and 3, the upper region, the spaces between ribs 3 and 4, the middle region, and the spaces between ribs 4 and 5, the lower region. On average, the upper region saw a 7.44% increase in thickness, the middle region a 10.06% increase in thickness, and the lower region a 7.45% increase in thickness. Now, some of you may be wondering why these numbers are significantly lower than the percentages observed in the Ogasawara study. Many potential reasons explain this. The Ogasawara study used previously untrained men, lasted 24 weeks, used these training variables, and measured cross-sectional area, which measures 2 dimensions of a muscle, whereas the Davies study used trained men and women, lasted only 8 weeks, used these training variables, and measured thickness, which measures only 1 muscle dimension. Nevertheless, I think it's fair to say the results of the Davies study, similar to the Ogasawara study, indicate the flat barbell bench press notably and near equivalently develops the upper, middle and lower pectoralis major regions. Combining the results of the 2 studies, the flat barbell bench press seems to be a great exercise for overall pectoralis major development. These findings raise a potentially interesting question. It's far from uncommon for individuals to feel their upper pectoralis major is underdeveloped despite flat barbell bench press training. Given the data we've overviewed, why would this be the case? I think there could be a potential explanation. In the 2 studies, we detail the relative upper, middle and lower pectoralis major gains experienced as a result of flat barbell bench press training, and concluded the movement seems to evoke near equal growth of these 3 regions. You can think of relative gains in terms of percentage changes. However, in absolute gains, it actually seems the flat barbell bench press grows the upper pectoralis major region less than the middle and lower regions. You can think of absolute gains in terms of measurement unit changes. To properly understand this, let us first more thoroughly explore the data from the Ogasawara study. On screen is the before and after training pectoralis major cross-sectional area measurements for the upper, middle and lower regions. As we know, in terms of percentage changes, that is, relative gains, all 3 regions experienced near equal changes in the ranges from 36 to 40%. However, in terms of centimeter squared gains, that is, absolute gains, the upper region only experienced a gain of 5.5 centimeters squared, whereas both the middle and lower regions approximately saw a 10 centimeters squared gain. This is interesting. Why are the percentage gains similar between all 3 regions, yet the absolute gains show the middle and lower regions grew nearly double the amount versus the upper region? The baseline absolute measurements explain this. Notice how before the study, the middle and lower regions are similarly sized, 25 to 27 centimeters squared, but the upper region is quite a bit smaller, at around 15 centimeters squared. With the same relative gains, again percentage changes, the smaller the number you begin with, the lower absolute gains, again measurement units, which is centimeters squared in this case, it experiences. Therefore, the reason the upper pectoralis major region sees less absolute growth but similar relative growth is simply because it is smaller to begin with compared to the middle and lower pectoralis major regions. The same case can be found with the Davies study. All 3 regions experienced fairly comparable percentage increases, yet increases in absolute gains, which in this case is only centimeters, as thickness, a 1-dimension measure, was explored in this study, were lower for the upper region versus the middle and lower regions. These 2 studies collectively demonstrate that most individuals tend to have an upper pectoralis major smaller in size compared to the sizes of the middle and lower regions to begin with, probably creating the appearance that upper pectoralis major is underdeveloped. Even though the flat barbell bench press provides a near equal relative stimulus to all 3 regions of the pectoralis major, because the upper region is smaller in size, it experiences less absolute growth and still remains smaller versus the middle to lower pectoralis major regions. If this is a problem for an individual, that is, they wish for their upper pectoralis major region to be the same or greater size in absolute measurements to the middle and lower regions, they would want to train additional exercises that preferentially stimulate the upper pectoralis major region to help accentuate its growth. Possible exercises that accomplish this include, but are not limited to, the incline barbell bench press, incline dumbbell bench press, elevated feet push-ups, and low cable chest fly. All these exercises involve horizontal flexion. The flat barbell bench press also involves this, which is generally the function of all regions of the pectoralis major. More critically though, they also involve a higher degree of shoulder flexion versus the flat barbell bench press, and the upper region of the pectoralis major specifically likely assists the anterior deltoid in this shoulder flexion, thereby likely meaning these 4 exercises preferentially recruit the upper pectoralis major region more than the middle and lower regions.